And third one is if you take x in W and some scalar alpha in F, the product alpha times x should be in the set. If the subset satisfies these three conditions, we can say W is a subspace of V. Now, for example, if you take some simple example, if you take solutions of the system of equation, okay, suppose A is an m by n matrix. We take some m by n matrix. Okay, we are collecting a vector. So W is nothing but we are collecting elements from Rn. Satisfy the condition that Ax equal to 0. Since A is an m by n matrix, and X is an n by 1 matrix, therefore the product should be m by 1. So sorry, therefore, yeah, correct. Okay. So now we have to check that this is clearly is a subset of Rn, right? Because we are collecting the vector x, satisfy the condition that Ax equal to 0. Now clearly this set contains 0 because A into 0 is 0, right? So if you take A into 0 vector is 0. Therefore, definitely 0 is a member of the set. Clearly, therefore, W is a non-empty set. W is a non-empty set. Now we have to check that this is subspace or not. Therefore, we have to take arbitrary two elements. So suppose we take two element x comma y in W. So then what we know, since x is an element of W, therefore is a solution of the system Ax equal to 0, and also y also a solution of the system Ay equal to 0. Now we have to check that the sum is a solution or not. That is, we have to check that A of x plus y is 0 or not. By the properties of vectors addition, we get Ax plus Ay. But Ax is 0, Ay is 0, therefore 0. Since x plus y is also a solution of the homogeneous system Ax equal to 0, therefore the sum x plus y is also in W. And we have to check that suppose if we take some scalar alpha in real number R and the element x in W, we have to show that alpha x is also a solution. That means we have what we have to show, all A times alpha x, we have to show this is equal to 0. But we know that again alpha is a scalar, I can take outside, therefore alpha times Ax. Since x is an element of W, therefore Ax equal to 0, therefore alpha times 0 is nothing but 0. Therefore alpha x is also a solution. Whenever alpha x is a solution, then alpha x is also a solution. Therefore alpha x, if you take any scalar alpha and any element x in W, the product is in W. Therefore W is a subspace. Therefore set of all solutions of the homogeneous equation form a subspace of Rn. The subspace of Rn. And now properties of the subspace are, suppose we have two subspace in a vector space, the sum is always a subspace. Now how we define a sum of two subspace? Suppose we have a W1, W2, there are two subspace. Okay. Suppose we take let W1 and W2 be two subspaces, of vector space V. Then the addition is defined to be, then the addition W1 plus W2 is nothing but is collection of all A plus B such that A comes from the first set W1 and B comes from the second set W2. Okay, that is, if you take any element x in W1 plus W2, then x is of the form A plus B, where A comes from W1, B comes from W2. Okay, so this is a sum of two sets. Now, if W1, W2 is a subspace, then W1 plus W2 also a subspace. Okay, so this W1 plus W2 is a subspace. We can easily prove it. The space of a vector space V, because since W1 is a subspace, therefore 0 is here. W2 is also a subspace, therefore 0 is also here. Therefore 0 plus 0, 0 is also in the set. Okay, and then if you take any two element x comma y in W, x is of the form A1 plus B1, and y is of some, suppose if we take two element x comma y in W1 plus W2, we have to show that the addition x plus y should be in the set. Since x is an element in W1 plus W2, therefore x is of the form some A1 plus B1, and y is of the form some element A2 plus B2, where this A1, A2 belongs to W1, and then B1, B2 belongs to W2. Now what is the sum? X plus y equal to A1 plus B1 plus A2 plus B2. Now we can adjust because this addition with respect to associative property set. Therefore, A1 plus A2 plus B1 plus B2. Now, since W is a subspace, therefore, whenever two elements A1, A2 in W, the sum should be in W. Similarly, B1, B2 is in W, W2 is a subspace, therefore, B1 plus B2 is also in W. Therefore, this belongs to W1 plus W2. Therefore, sum is there. Similarly, we can prove that a scalar multiplication also is there. Therefore, sum of two subspace is always subspace. Okay, in any vector space, if you take any two subspace, the sum is subspace. That is the property, first property. And next, what about a union and intersection? Suppose we take two subspaces. What about the union? Is a subspace or not? So suppose that we have subspace W1 and we have another subspace W2. Now what about the W1 intersection W2? Is, we know the definition, collection of all elements in the vector space V such that either, so okay, so intersection is there, right? Therefore, X belongs to both X in W1 and X belongs to W2 because X is an intersection. We are collecting the elements which is both W1 and W2. Now we have to show that this W1, W2 is a subspace. Okay, easy to prove it. So to prove the intersection W1 intersection W2 is a subspace. Intersection of two subspace, not only two subspace. If you take intersection of arbitrary number of subspaces, always subspace. Subspace of B. So how to prove this one? Again, first we have to check that 0 is an element of W1 intersection W2 or not. So clearly we know that 0 is an element of W1 because W1 is a subspace. Therefore, the additive 0 should be in W1. Again, W2 is also a subspace. Therefore, 0, again the 0 belongs to W2. Therefore, 0 belongs to W1 intersection W2. It is in both W1 W2. Therefore, intersection also. Therefore, now additive element is there. Now, if you take two element X comma Y in W1 intersection W2, we can easily prove that the sum is also here. Since this X comma Y in W1 and W2, therefore X comma Y in W1 as well as and this X comma Y in W2. Since W1 is a subspace, therefore what we know, the sum X plus Y in W1 and X, since W2 is a subspace and then XY is an element of W2, therefore the sum X plus Y is also in W2. Since this X plus Y is both an element of W1 and W2, therefore it should be in the intersection. Therefore this X plus Y belongs to W1 intersection W2. Okay. So now we prove that sum is there. So similarly we can prove that the scalar multiplication. Therefore if we take alpha is an element in the field F, if we take element X in the intersection W1 intersection W2, so we have to prove that alpha times X, since X in W1 intersection W2 implies that X in both in W1 and X in W2. Since W1 is a subspace and alpha times X1 should be in W1 because of W1 is a subspace. And again, X is in W2, W2 is subspace, therefore the scalar multiplication X belongs, alpha times X also belongs to W2. So implies that the scalar multiplication alpha times X belongs to W1 intersection W2. Therefore, intersection of two subspace is always subspace. Not only if we take two subspace, if we take any arbitrary number of subspace, the intersection of subspace is subspace. Now the next property is, what about the union? So is the union of two subspaces subspace? Need not be a subspace. Okay. So that is a next note, a very important note. Usually, therefore, the union of two subspace are need not be subspace. Why the union of two subspace need not be subspace? Anyway, 0 is all both set, right? Therefore, suppose if we take R2, we consider in R2. So we know that in R2 the subspace are all, any line passing through origin is always a subspace of R2. Suppose if we take two line, suppose I am taking one line is a line passing through origin, this line. This is one subspace I call W1. Suppose I take another subspace line is a line passing through origin. This I'm taking. This is another subspace. We take W2. So the union is nothing but the cross symbol. The red color, green color is the union. Now we are going to show. Anyway, what about 0 is also there, right? So 0 is in union. So 0 is there. Now suppose you take one element here, one element x, and if you take another element y here, the x plus y sum is need not be in either of W1, W2. Okay. Even a better simple case is no need to take this line. So better simple case, you just take the x-axis. So x-axis also a line passing through origin, right? Since if we take this x-axis, we take this is a W1. This is a subspace. If we take y-axis, that is our another subspace, because that line also passed through a line. It's also a subspace. Now the union is nothing but the just a plus symbol. Now if we take one point here, we take 0, 1, 0. I'm taking another point here, that is 0, 1. Now what is the sum? It should be 1, 1, 1, because we got to add term by term. So we get 1 plus 1, 1. This 1, 1 is need not be in either W1, neither W1 nor W2. Therefore, sum of two elements is need not be in the set. Okay. Therefore, union of two subspace need not be subspace. Okay. When union of two subspace is a subspace, if and only if one subspace is contained in other subspace, that is the only possible. Suppose the union of two subspace is subspace, the one if and only if one is contained in other. That is U1 or okay, U1 or U1. Okay, U1 union. Okay, don't take again W1, W2. So W1, W1, W1 union W2 is a subspace. So when this union is a subspace, if and only if either this W1 contained in W2 or W2 contained in W1. That is the only possible that we get a union is subspace. Otherwise, the union is need not be a subspace. So union of two subspace, if and only if either W1 is contained in W2 or W2 is contained in W1. This is very important property. So therefore, the union of two subspace is need not be a subspace. Sometimes we will get a subspace, but in general, union is need not be a subspace. So these are all properties of subspace. Suppose we did all the operation. We discuss about the union, and then we discuss about the intersection. We discuss about the sum. If we take addition, subtraction, that is also a subspace. That is not issue. Now, what about the difference? Suppose you are removing W2 from W1. So W1, W2 are subspace. Suppose I am taking W1 difference W2. That means what? I am going to remove all the elements of W2 from W1. This is not a subspace. Why? Because this W2 is also a subspace. The subspace contains 0. So you are removing. So W1 also contains 0, but you are removing all the elements of W2. In particular, you are removing 0 also. Therefore, clearly this 0 element is not an element of this W1 difference W2. Because we removed W2. W2 contains 0. Therefore, this W1 in difference W2 is not a subspace because 0 is not there. No need to check other condition. Okay. Therefore, subtraction of two subspace is not a subspace. Okay. Never subspace, because you are removing 0, because this W2 contains 0. W1 also contains 0 because both are subspace. But you are removing all the elements of W. In particular, you are removing 0 also. Therefore, the remaining set does not contain 0. Therefore, it's not a subspace. Okay, so maybe I can write as note W1. So whenever I'm using W1, W2, both are subspace. Okay, so W1 difference W2 is not a subspace. Not a subspace of the vector space V. Okay, now we discuss all the properties. Maybe we can check the symmetric difference, that is also not a subspace. Okay, now we call the elements of the vector space V are called vectors. The elements of F are called scalars. We do that. Now we define what do you mean by linearly independent, linearly dependent. What is this linear combination? Okay, suppose we have a set of vectors. Okay, suppose we have a vectors v1, v2, etc. some vn. These are all elements in V. That means these are all vectors. Okay, so we say a linear combination means what? There is a scalars. There is a scalar some alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha n in the from the field F, such that the combination alpha 1 v1 plus alpha 2 v2, etc. plus alpha n vn. So this is called a linear combination of v1, v2, etc. vn. So this term is called linear combination. Linear combination of vectors. Linear combination of v1, v2, etc. vn. So this alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha n's are scalar. Okay. So this is a linear combination of v1, v2, etc. vn. Now we say a set of vectors is said to be linearly independent. So when we say a set of vectors is said to be linearly independent, the only solution of the homogeneous equation is 0. Okay. Suppose I am taking definition of linearly independent. Suppose a set of vectors. So definition: a set of vectors. A set of vectors v1, v2, etc. some vn, v1, v2, some vn. This set of vectors in a vector space V, in a vector space V, is said to be linearly independent. Is said to be linearly independent. Linearly independent vectors if the equation, the vector equation, if the vector equation called linearly dependence of x. So what is the vector equation? That suppose c1 times v1 plus c2 times v2 plus etc. plus cn into vn equal to 0. So this is a vector equation because v1 is a vector. If you multiply by a scalar c1, the c1 into v1 is also a vector. Sum of two vector is vector. Therefore, this is a vector equation. So when we say this v1, v2, etc. vn, so this v1, v2, vn are given numbers, known numbers, known vectors. The unknowns are in these equations are c1, c2, etc. cn. So for what values of c1, c2, etc. cn, it should be a solution of the equation. Okay, so we say if v1, v2, etc. vn is said to be linearly independent, the only solution of this equation is 0, 0, 0, 0. That is, so has this vector equation has only the trivial solution. Only the trivial solution. Only the trivial solution. C1 equal to 0, C2 equal to 0, etc. C1, everything is equal, etc. implies Cn equal to 0. So this vector equation have only trivial solution, then we say v1, v2, etc. vn are linearly independent. Otherwise means what? At least some non-trivial solution of this equation exists, then we say is linearly dependent. Okay. So otherwise we call it is said to be linearly dependent. It is said to be linearly dependent. Linearly dependent set. So suppose we say a set of vectors is said to be linearly independent, means what? The vector equation have only the trivial solution, then we say v1, v2, etc. vn's are linearly independent. Suppose we get some non-trivial solution. Non-trivial solution means what? At least one of the CA is non-zero, but the equation is satisfied. Okay, then such a case we say is linearly dependent. Okay, for example, we take some example from R2. Better way to start from R2. In R2, in play, if you take some vector, I take v1 equal to, if you take some vector 1 comma 0 and take v2, so better we call e1 e2, that is actually we call it a standard basis. So e1 means what? The first position is 1, all other positions are 0. So but if we are in R2, therefore only two positions 1 and 0. And take e2 is 0 and 1. So we are going to show this e1 is a vector because in the element of R2, v2 is also a vector. This e1, e2 are linearly independent. Why? Because we have to consider the equation c1 e1 plus c2 e2 equal to 0. We have to show that this equation have only the trivial solution. That is c1 should be 0, c2 should be 0. We have to show that. So that means what is the, we can simplify this, c1 times what is e1, 1 comma 0, and c2 times what is e2, 0 comma 1. Equal to 0 means actually 0 comma 0 is a 0 vector in R2. Now multiply the c1 term by term, we get c1 times c1 is 0. Sorry, 1 times c1 is c1, 0 times c1 is 0. So similarly here we got to multiply c2 inside, we get 0 comma c2 equal to 0 comma 0. So you can add term by term because we know that sum of the vector addition is nothing but you have to add term by term. Therefore c1 plus 0 is nothing but c1 comma 0 plus c2 is c2. So the right hand side is 0 comma 0. So when we say two order pairs are equal, first coordinate equal to first coordinate, second coordinate equal to second coordinate. Now if you consider the equation, the only solutions of the equation is the trivial solution 0 0. Therefore this e1 e2 is linearly independent. Therefore e1 comma e2, this set is linearly independent set. Linearly independent set of R2. In R2 we can find infinitely many linearly independent set. For example, I am going to take one more say example. Okay, suppose again same in R2, instead of taking E1 for standard basis, we call I will explain what is standard basis. Okay, now suppose I am taking V1 equal to 1 comma 1. Take any vector. Suppose I am taking V2 equal to some other term 2 comma 1. Suppose I am taking one more vector V3 equal to 0 comma some 4. Now we are going to show that v1, v2, v3 are linearly dependent. That means what? If we consider the vector equation c1 v1 plus c2 v2 plus c3 v3, we will get a non-trivial solution. That is at least one of the ci's are non-zero, but it satisfies the equation. Now how to prove it? Just you have to substitute the values of v1, v2, etc. So therefore c1 times what is the values of v1? 1 comma 1. And c2 times v2 is 2 comma 1 plus c3 times 0 comma 4 equal to 0 means what? Actually 0 comma 0. Now multiply c1 and then term add, you get a c1 plus 2c2, that is the first term, first coordinate, because the c3 is 0. The second coordinate is c1 plus 2, sorry, just c2, c1 plus c2 plus 4 times c3 equal to 0 comma 0. Now these two order pair equals means what? The first term equal to 0, that is the first coordinate equal to 0. Second coordinate is also 0. Second coordinate is c1 plus c2 plus 4c3 equal to 0. Now these are two equation, three unknowns, right? So therefore you have to take one variable is, so there are how many unknowns? There are three unknowns. There are two equations, 3 minus 2 is 1. You can take one variable is free variable. So free variable is what? You can choose any value. Okay. So now pick C3 equal to some value. Okay. Because there are two equation, three unknowns. Okay. C1, C2, C3 is the unknown. Therefore set some value. C3 equal to some values. I take some T. Now what you'll get? C1 plus C2, 2C2 equal to 0 from the first equation. Now from the second, C1 plus C2 equal to minus 4t. Now just subtract these two equations. Now we can subtract this C1 cancelled, right? So what you'll get? C2. 2C2 minus C2 is C2 equal to 4t. Okay. Now substitute 4t in the either first equation, this equation. So what you'll get? C1 equal to minus 2 times C2. Therefore, this is equal to minus 2 times what is the value of C2? 4t. Therefore, what you'll get? You get a minus 80. Okay, now we get what you'll get. C1 is minus 80, C2 is 40, T3 is T. Now we get this one. We have to check that this satisfies these two equations or not. Is satisfied, right? Therefore, if we take now we find the solution. So what are the solutions? The first question is you can take minus 80 and then 40 and then t. So I am going to this is the solution. Now take any value. So if you take any value t, this is the solution of the equation. What is the equation? C1 times V1 plus C2 times V2 plus C3 times V3 equal to 0. For example, if you take t equal to 1, if you take specific case t equal to 1 or 0 or take anything. Suppose I am taking t equal to 1. Now t equal to means what? Minus 8, 4, 1 is a solution. Clearly is a solution of the system of the first equation. Is a solution. Maybe we call the equation is 1. So this is we call this is 1. So this one has a non-trivial solution. So non-trivial solution means what? At least one coordinate is non-zero. So here we get all the coordinates are non-zero. So this is solution of the equation 1. Therefore, since the equation 1 has a non-trivial solution, therefore V1, V2, etc., V3 are linearly dependent. So therefore V1, V2, V3 are linearly dependent. Linearly dependent set or linearly dependent vectors, because we get a non-trivial solution of the equation, vector equation. Okay, so that is linearly dependent and independent. So in general, in Rn, if you take the EIs, so in Rn, if you take E1 is nothing but 1 in the first position remaining as 0, that is E1. E2 is nothing but 1 in the second position, all other positions are 0, etc. What is En is nothing but 1 in the nth positions remaining as 0. Okay, this E1, E2, etc. En are called anyway. We will discuss later. That is called standard basis. Now anyway, this E1, E2, etc. En, this set of vectors are linearly is, if you put in the suppose you write all the vectors within the curly bracket, we have to say is. Suppose you are removing the bracket, you have to write R. Okay, so now I am putting everything within the curly bracket, therefore I am writing is a linearly independent set or linearly independent vectors, linearly independent set. Suppose you are writing within the set means you are writing the set. Suppose you are removing the bracket means you have to say linearly independent vectors. Okay. Now, next definition is spanning set. So spanning means what? So before that, given any vector space, given any non-zero element, we can always produce a subspace. Okay. So that is a subspace spanned by a vector. So that is, suppose V is a vector space. So V is a vector space. V is a vector space over the field F. Suppose if you take some small v is an element of capital V and V is non-zero element. Okay. Now we can find another subspace because V itself is a subspace, capital V itself is a subspace. Okay, so we can find another subspace contained in the small v. So that is called the span of V. So what is the definition of span V? That is, we can write span of the small v. Otherwise, we can write this notation: span V is nothing but all scalar multiplication of V. That is alpha times V, such that alpha varies in the field F. This V is fixed. Okay. Now alpha times F, sorry, alpha times V, where alpha varies in F. Now this is a subspace spanned by V. So we call this a subspace. Is a subspace spanned by the vector, single vector V. So clearly this subspace contains V, because if we take alpha equal to 1, because the field contains 1, if we take basically alpha equal to 1, therefore this small v should be in the span of V. Therefore we can easily show that this is a subspace, span of V is a subspace contained in V. Okay. Suppose instead of taking single vector, suppose I am getting subset. Suppose I am taking S is a subset of V. It's just a subset. Be a subset, not a subspace. Is a subset. Now we can produce a subspace contains this S. So that is we called span of S, spanning set S. Otherwise, in notation we can write this inner product notation, span S, or sometimes called L of S. There are equivalent name. Okay. So this is nothing but all linear combination of elements of S, that is equal to set of all A1 some V1 plus etc. plus AN Vn. All possible, because we don't know how many elements are there in S. You can take all possible linear combination. If you take 2 elements linear combination, 3 elements linear combination, all possible linear combination of elements of S. So here this V1, V2, etc. Vn is an element of the set S, and this A1, A2, etc. An is from the scalar, and n is any natural number. N is not fixed. Okay, you can take only one vector, or if we take 2 vectors combination, 3 vectors combination, all possible combination. So this is a span of the set S. We can easily show that this is a subspace, because if we take A1 equal to 0, A2 equal to 0, An equal to 0, we get 0 plus 0 plus 0, 0 is there. Okay. Suppose if we take any 2 element, the sum is also there, and then scalar multiplication also is there. So we can easily show that this is a subspace. Definitely. So if we take A1 equal to 1, all others are 0. A2 is 0, A3 is 0, etc. Everything is 0. Therefore, from this we can get that V1 belongs to the set. So again, suppose if we take A1 equal to 0, A2 is 1, all others are 0, we get V2 is an element of the span of the set. V2 is also in the span. Therefore, in general, we can say that the span of S contains the given set S. S is a subset of span of S or L of S. So this is nothing but all possible linear combination of elements from S. Maybe the elements contains more elements. We can take all possible linear combination, 2 linear combination, 3 vectors linear combination, all vectors. That's why I am taking here n varies in natural number. Suppose we are taking n equal to 1, we take all one possible linear combination, that is A1 V1, A2 A1 V1, all possible A1 V1. That is, we are varying A1. Okay, and so on. So this is a span of the set. This is also a subspace. This subspace is called subspace spanned by. So this subspace, clearly we can show that this is subspace. This subspace is called subspace spanned by space. Spanning or spanned by the set S. Now we are going to define what is the spanning set of B. So when we say a set is said to be spanning set, so suppose we have set S. So we say a subset S. We say a subset S of a vector space V is spanning set. Spanning set of V if you take any element or any element v in V, if for any element v in V implies that V should be in the span of the set S. That means what? If you take any element V in V can be written as linear combination of elements of S. So that is V can be written as alpha times V1 plus etc. plus alpha m Vm for some m. For some m in natural number, and then alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. alpha m from the scalars, and then V1, V2, etc. Vm from the set S. So when we say a subset of a vector space V is said to be spanning set of V, if we take any element V in V can be written as linear combination of elements from the set S. Then we say is a span set. So that's it. That means what? Actually, we can say V should be equal to the span of the set S. Otherwise, V equal to L of S. Or this notation, we can use anything. Okay. So if this is happen, if and only if S is a spanning set. Spanning set of V. So for example, if you take R2, in R2, this standard basis is a spanning set. In R2, if you take E1 is standard basis 1, 0 and E2 is 0, 1, then E1, E2 are span the entire set. So that means what? If we take any element x, y in R2, we can write this x, y is a linear combination of this E1, E2. So we have there are some scalar such that we can write this x, y is a linear combination of this E1, E2. So that is, if we can write x, y equal to x into E1 plus y into E2. Because why this is true? Because x into what is E1? 1, 0 plus y into what is E2? 0, 1. Now multiply x inside and then sum. We get x, 0 and here we get 0, y. Now sum is term coordinate space addition. Therefore x plus 0 is x and then 0 plus y is y. We get x, y. Therefore this xy is a linear combination of E1, E2. Therefore this E1, E2 is a spanning T. Okay. Otherwise, not spanning subspace. So this, therefore, the set E1, E2 span B or spans V. That means what? Suppose we call the set is S, then span of S equal to V. Is any element of here V is nothing but R2. Okay. So in our case, V is nothing but R2. Any element of R2 can be written as linear combination of linear combination of this E1, E2. Therefore, this E1, E2 spans the entire space R2. We can take, if we take any other, suppose I am taking another set and we are going to show that is a span entire set. Suppose I take in R2, again take the space R2. In R2, I am taking V1 equal to some 1, minus 1. And take V2 equal to another vector. I am taking 2, 3. Suppose I am taking 2, 3. Now I am going to show these two vectors span the entire R2. That means what we have to show, if you take any element in R2, that element can be written as linear combination of these two elements, these two vectors V1. So how to prove it? Suppose we take some arbitrary element x, y in R2. We have to write this x, y equal to some scalar times V1 and plus some scalar times V2. We have to find a alpha beta. Such an alpha beta should exist or not. So how to prove it? So it's nothing but just you have to take the values of v1, v2, and then you got to simplify. So therefore, we don't know what is the values of alpha beta. We got to find alpha beta. So alpha times what is v1, 1 comma minus 1, plus beta times what is v2, 2 comma 3. Now just to multiply and then sum, you get alpha comma minus alpha in the first coordinate, first vector, and here we get 2 beta comma 3 beta. Now just sum term by term, what you'll get alpha plus 2 beta, that is the first term, and then minus alpha plus 3 beta, the second term. Now this two order pairs are equal, x comma y equal to alpha plus 2 beta comma minus alpha comma 3 beta, therefore we can equal it. Therefore x equal to alpha plus 2 beta, y equal to minus alpha plus 3 beta. Now just you got to add this equation, we can cancel alpha, therefore the left hand side we get x plus y equal to this side is 5 beta, therefore beta equal to x plus y by 5. Now we find the values of beta in terms of xy, and then substitute this value into the first equation. We get alpha plus 2 beta equal to x. Now alpha equal to x minus 2 beta, but what is the values of beta? X plus y by 5. Just to simplify, we get a 5x minus 2x minus 2y whole divided by 5. This is actually 3x minus 2y divided by 5. This is nothing but alpha. Therefore, we get alpha beta. Anyway, there is some alpha beta is a real number. Therefore, if we choose alpha equal to 3x minus 2y by 5 and then beta equal to x plus y by 5, then we can write this x comma y is a linear combination of v1, v2. Such an alpha beta exists from the field. Here field is a real number. Therefore, this v1, v2 span v1 vector and then v2 vector span the entire space, span R2. Okay, but if we take a specific, we take one more example. Suppose I am taking W1, small W1. If we take only one vector, we cannot span the entire one. Suppose I am taking W1 equal to some 2, 3 or 2, 5, something. So therefore, the span of W1 is not equal to R2. This thing, we cannot generate or write every element of R2 is a linear combination of this 2, 5. For example, specifically take 0, 1 is an element of R2. Okay, we cannot write this 0, 1 is a scalar multiplier because we have only one vector. We got to write alpha times 2 into 5. We cannot find such an alpha because here, suppose such an alpha exists. Suppose you multiply inside, we get 2 alpha comma alpha 5 or 5 times alpha. Now, if you compare the coefficient, we get 2 alpha equal to 0. Therefore, alpha should be 0. But if alpha equal to 0, we get the contradiction here because the second question is not 0. But the left hand side, we get 0. Therefore, we cannot find such an alpha. Therefore, if we take any single element in R2, we cannot span entire space. Therefore, at least you need 2 vector to span R2. So if you have only one vector in R2, we cannot generate or we cannot span the entire space R2. Therefore, we need at least 2 vector to span R2. Okay. Therefore, even if you take in R3, we need at least 3 vectors to span the entire space R3. In general, in Rn, at least you need n vectors to span Rn. Okay. So based on this, we define what is a basis. So basis is nothing but should be a linearly independent set and should be a spanning set. Okay. So that is a very important definition. Definition for basis. A set of vectors is said to be basis if it is linearly independent and then span the entire space if it is vector space V. Okay. So the definition, let V be a vector space. Let V be a vector space. vector space, a basis of V, a basis for V. Okay, sometimes of V or for V. A basis for V is a set of linearly independent. It should be both linearly independent and that spans the entire space. So it's linearly independent vectors that spans entire row, that spans entire V. Such a set is called basis. Now look at in E1, E2, it's both the linearly independent set and spans R2, right? Therefore, is a basis. The first one. Now look at this one. This E1, E2 span R2, and already we know that this E1, E2 are linearly independent set. Already we proved that this is linearly independent. Now it is both linearly independent and then spans entire space. Therefore, this E1, E2 is a basis. Is a basis. So in a vector space, we have there are many bases are there. Okay, even you can say infinitely many bases. Even in the if you take the second example, this V1 this V1 equal to 1 comma minus 1, V2 equal to 2 comma 3. Now we prove that this spans V. Now we prove that this spans V. Now we have to check that this V1 V2 form a basis or not. That means what we have to check, this is linearly independent or not. So linearly independent means what we have to check. Suppose if we take C1 times V1 plus C2 times V2, if you consider this vector equation, we got to show that it has only trivial solution. So therefore, C1 times what is V1 1 comma minus 1 plus C2 times what is V2, V2 is 2 comma 3. Now simplify this. Solve this, you get a trivial solution. So that is 2 comma 3 equal to 0 means what? 0 comma 0. Now I'm directly right. We get a C equation C1 plus 2C2 equal to 0. And then next one is minus C1 plus 3C2 equal to 0. We get two equations. Now we can add, we can cancel this C1. We get a 5 times C2. 5 times C2 equal to 0. Therefore, C2 should be 0. Now substitute C2 value in the equation. We get C1 equal to 0. Therefore, we get that only trivial solution. If we consider this vector equation C1 V1 plus C2 V2 equal to 0, we get the trivial solution. The only solutions are 0, 0. Therefore, this V1 V2 is also linearly independent. This V1 comma V2 is linearly independent. I can write in short Li. Li means linearly independent set in R3. Therefore, this V1 is both linearly independent and span entire space. Therefore, it's a basis. Okay. Therefore, V1 V2 form a basis. Therefore, this V1 comma V2 is a basis for R2. Okay. Sorry. So in R2 we have infinitely many bases are there. Similarly, in R3 or in if you take any vector space, we have a basis. Okay. So any doubt in this? So actually we call this E1, E2 is called the standard basis. Now we can define what is the standard basis. This E1, E2, etc. I already defined what is En. Is a standard basis. Standard basis means this is a standard basis. So this E1, E2, etc. En. Now this actually we can prove that easily is a linearly independent set as well as span the entire Rn. Therefore, this collection is called standard basis. This is called actually standard basis of Rn. Thus, each vector is a have n position, n coordinates. Therefore, it's a standard basis in Rn. Okay. So, okay, we can say another way of saying that we say a set of vectors basis if and only if we take any vector in V, V can be written as uniquely as a linear combination of the elements. Okay, that is a theorem. What the theorem says, suppose we have set of vectors, we say the set of vectors is basis. If and only if, suppose we take, write in short, suppose v1, v2, etc. and vn, we say this is a basis for the vector space capital V, okay, then otherwise we can say is a basis, then any element, then any v in V, any small v in capital V, such that this V can be written as the linear combination of elements of this in a unique way, that is alpha 1 v1 plus etc. plus alpha n vn. We have to express this V can be expressed uniquely as a linear combination of elements of this. Otherwise, we can write this. If it is basis, we can write any vector V in V can be expressed in a unique way. If it is not a basis, we can express a single vector in a different ways. But if it is basis, we have to write only one. So then, any vector V in V can be expressed. So maybe I can erase this. Any V in V can be expressed as a combination of linear combination of expressed a linear combination of vectors of linear combinations of v1, v2, etc. vn in a unique way. So it can be expressed, can be uniquely expressed. I can write here. So can be uniquely expressed as a linear combination of as a linear combination of this v1, v2, etc. vn. Even we can say it's a if and only if. Okay, so any vector can be written can be expressed uniquely expressed a linear combination of some set of vectors v1, v2, etc. vn. Then we say the set of vector is basis. If it is basis, then any vector in V can be expressed as a uniquely expressed as a linear combination of the vectors. That is if and only if. Now, there are some theorems are there, important theorems. Okay, basis we can say is a minimum generating set. Should be minimum generating set. In terms of maximum is maximum linearly independent set. Okay, so anyway, so far in doubt.